A recent article serves as a warning to everyone in trucking, their leaders, and the corporate elites. We're covering it here tonight. Could we be opening the door to more inflation? Or is it something we can learn from this far off land? Stick around, we're covering it. If recent events haven't taught us one thing, it's the experience will trump technology every time. Stick around and see why I say that. This and more headlines worth mentioning. Coming up tonight on Trucking Frontlines. Broadcasting live from the Mobile Command Center, deep inside the United States of Trucking, having more fun than any new show host is allowed to have on YouTube. That's right, there should be a regulation against it. Boss Man here, back behind the golden TI beam microphone, here at the Truth and Broadcasting Network, in the mobile studio, where I have dedicated my free time to pointing out that there's always a way to make trucking great again. Doing so with a communication skill given to me by God himself to restore your faith in broadcast talent. Put a comment in, let us know where you're watching us from. We'd like to know you're here and where you're watching us from. We'll talk about getting back into the swing of things. I've been off the road for about 14 days. I'll tell you what, kind of makes you really antsy when you're out of routine. It's certainly difficult. You know, you get used to a certain flow, you get used to a certain, setup, and then all of a sudden, boom, before you know it, you got to get right back into another completely different routine, and it's heads up from there. I just want to briefly mention, I got some plans coming up, and as usual, I'm always making changes, making improvements, but this is going to basically help make this channel more consistent and more reachable. Because as of right now, I've got platforms all over the place, and I'm trying to put them all in one place. So as of right now, I'm most popular on Facebook under the name That's Truckin'. What I plan on doing, effective November 1st, is I'm going to change the name of That's Truckin' Facebook page, not group. The group will stay as it is. But the Facebook page will then, from that day forward, be known as Truckin' City Media. You can also look for me on TikTok. Currently, right now, I'm listed on TikTok under That's Truckin'. That account name will change, and it will also become Truckin' City Media. So all the news content that I put on this channel, Truckin' City Media, can and will be found on Facebook and on TikTok. My effort to unify and make everything easy to find in one place right here so you guys know where to go to talk about ways to make trucking great again. Tell you what, guys, it's been a long, hard fight. And so far, 214 of you have decided to join the fight and become members of the United States of Trucking. To that, I say thank you. Continue sending me any of your news clips, news stories, thoughts, or ideas to thatstruckingnews@outlook.com. That email will not change. That is the flagship email for this and all the channels. So if you've got an idea for a story or anything you want this and other viewers to know about that helps out in the world of trucking, by all means, go ahead and send it to thatstruckingnews@outlook.com. Let's get this show on the road.
We begin.
From Truckin' City Central Command, you are on The front lines. Trucking news.
The semi-truck driver accused of causing that deadly crash on Highway 285 this week now under arrest.
Cutting edge opinion.
And we will make trucking great again.
Built for truckers
You should be hauling that freight based on what works for you.
by truckers.
Remember, get them done.
Featuring
I think trucking is a very good career.
And I am gonna beat them.
I'm gonna beat him too.
We don't do it just for us and our families. We do it for you guys.
Remember, truckers are people too.
hosted by the El Rushbo of Trucking News, Boss Man.
860-785-3547 is our studio line. At any time during the show, if you feel froggy, you want to be part of the show, you can do it one of three ways. You can call our show, 860-785-3547. You can email us at thatstruckingnews@outlook.com, or if you look over in the chat, you'll see a join the show StreamYard link. You're welcome to click on that. We have, so far as I can tell, 3 spots open. If you want to become part of the show and the panel, by all means, have fun. Click the link. It's a simple process. Truck lovers, truth seekers, we are back in the captain's chair once again for another great lineup of debate tonight. Welcome to the best call-in show run by truckers, for truckers, and certainly giving you the truth in broadcasting network. Frontline forces are ready, so let's talk about the lineup of guests. Front and center with me, my co-host, the one and only, Driving with John. How's it going, my friend? If I can get this thing going. Yeah, there he is. Man, that always reminds everybody that truckers are people too. We have also in the house with us the grumpy old trucker, the man himself. Always good to remind everyone that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We also have with us the man who visits and runs the videos to prove it. The Larry Visits videos are a sensation. Welcome, Larry the Trucker. The man with whom Bull has no name and his accompanying dog. Thumper and Bo, welcome to the show tonight, my friends. And the personality from the north who reminds us that yardsticks were made before trucks, so be careful. We got your back, brother. Once again, 785-3547, 860-785-3547. Got a couple of headlines I'd like to mention to get a kickoff in the right direction. The American Trucking Association applauded the award of over $30 million. Wow. That's going to be used to construct 260 new truck parking spaces. Wow. Ain't that strange? They just awarded $755 million for infrastructure. Lord knows how much that was supposed to go. I mean, good Lord, you would think with all the money that they have, we've got parking coming out the wazoo. But no, we still have a problem. This $30 million, by the way, is going to 3 states, primarily Ohio, Wisconsin, and Nevada. If you want to learn more, I have the link to this story in the description below. Please read it, have at it, and if you'd like, comment about it, and we'll talk about it during the show. The ATA isn't the only one with an article and a headline. The Natural Resources Defense Council also put up a article of their own, but it talks about truck makers manufacturing a false crisis. What an interesting conundrum. Who would have thought that would have happened? Truck makers apparently are falsely telling dealers that the rules prevent them from selling the cleaner diesel truck models they want to buy, pushing electric truck models instead. Their claim is, and this is the dealers talking, that the rules don't require the manufacturers to adopt these draconian business practices, and that they're using, nor do they require dealers to purchase products they don't want. So lo and behold, there comes the conundrum. So another interesting read if you want to opine on that as soon as we get started with the rest of the show this evening. I'd like your thoughts and any others you have. List them in the comments if you'd like. We have a caller with us on the line. I'd like to bring him up before we start with my opening thoughts. Welcome to the show, my friend Fate. Boom, the reefer guy. What's going on, my friend?
Good evening. I probably have horrible cell service where I am, but I hear you talking about truck parking. Tell people to also check out truckparkingclub.com to find parking, whether it's nightly, daily, weekly, or monthly. Once again, that is truckparking.com.
Truckparkingclub.com. Good recommendation.
Truckparkingclub.com.
Good recommendation. Actually, I was going to mention that because that is part of my opening thoughts. So I'll certainly be interested if you want to call us back after the story. You're welcome to do it as long as you got service. I'd certainly love to hear your input on that.
Well, they say great minds think alike, so you must have a great mind.
I'll take that as a partial compliment, not a dig. My friend, I appreciate the call.
Somebody's full of themselves.
Well, come on, John. Be nice now.
John doesn't know what he's talking about. John's always rambling his mouth or taking somebody's video and making it better.
Yeah, it's, well, you said a mouthful right there. He's taking a video and making it better. Touche, baby.
All right, y'all have a good night.
All right, call us back anytime, my friend. Thanks for the call.
Bye-bye.
Let's get on with the opening thoughts. All right, cooperate with me, computer. My internet connection's a little slow, so I hit these controls and it's next year before things work right. So bear with me, people. Truck parking. An real solution. As if Fate mentioning a minute ago, Truck Parking Club isn't enough of a solution. Here's a thought a lot of people don't think about. At the core of what every single one of you out there talks about every day and every night is this argument over parking. According to Landline Media, truck parking just isn't some minor inconvenience. It's a crisis. It's about more than throwing money at a problem and hoping it fixes itself. So you can't slap some fancy new tech on the issue and call it a day. That's what they're trying to do here with this truck parking availability system. This Landline Media article is trying to gain information and gain a perspective from truckers as to solutions, thoughts, and input about the I-10 corridor. Now, don't get me wrong. I love technology, and all the stuff they just mentioned is great. And it works for me and for him as much as the next guy. But let me tell you guys, there's more out there to it than just apps, okay? You've got to battle exhaustion. You've got to deal with tight schedules. You've got to face unrelenting pressure. And at the end of the day, parking just needs to be available. So when they say they're going to integrate parking information into smartphone apps, it sounds great on paper. Well, let's be real. Technology is as good as the information it provides. And if it's not so accurate or timely, well, you might not have, and you might as well not have anything at all. The only reason I say that is, as I open the show with recent events, when you get the network of communications down, when you get the power down, when you get places flooded out, you're in a little bit of a bind. So we've got veteran truckers out here, guys and gals who've been driving for 10, 20, 30 years. A couple of them on the panel here, who've learned to trust their guts and their instinct. And their experience does more than just what some app might not even give you when it fails to update or puts you into a real test like we talked about earlier. These truckers don't have time to gamble on whether or not the app's going to help them leave, go, find, whatever. And that's really the crux of the problem. Experience still trumps tech any day of the week. And that's really a reality we can't ignore. Don't get me wrong, like I said earlier, nothing wrong with tech. All right. Then there's the learning curve too. Newer drivers and those with 1 to 5 years on the road, they might use these systems more because frankly, they don't know any better. They haven't had the time to develop that gut instinct that you and I have. But for veterans, we're used to it. We've pretty much got our routine down. We know where we're going to go. We don't have to fight with it. Parking club is a convenience. It's one I suggest, just like Fate says. But above all else, even though it's available to me, I've only had to use it once. And that's it. And even the reserve parking spots at TA, I hardly ever have to utilize that as well. So it all comes down to experience. All right. Technology can fail, but experience doesn't. That's right. That right there is why the system isn't going to work for everybody. And the system I'm referring to is what Landline's trying to do. They're putting all this money and all this research into parking information systems. Okay. So what's the real solution? It's not more apps. It's about throwing more. It's not about throwing more money into it when it only works for the new guys. Well, it leaves us experienced guys hanging. Now, what we need is real world solutions. We need more parking spaces. Okay. Better infrastructure and backup systems. Everyone can trust that will work when the time's right. Not just rookies, and not have it just benefit the rookies. Have it benefit everybody, okay? Don't think about one side of the equation. Think about the whole enchilada, okay? This isn't just a trucker issue, folks. This is an American issue. This is the lifeblood of our nation. Me, you, everyone out there moving everything from groceries to fixtures, construction, fuel. If we don't stand up now and say enough's enough, we don't demand more than just lip service and gadgets, we're not going to see a change in this parking crisis. Nothing's going to change. We need solutions that work for everybody, not just a few. I want to know what your thoughts are. Put them in the comments. Give us a call on the studio line, 860-785-3547. Let's have this talk tonight, and let's solve some problems, shall we? So, Grumpy, you're one of the guys out there that have that real world 10, 20, 30-year bracket time frame. What do you think of my opening thoughts, and do you have anything to add to it?
Oh, I got lots to add to it. I'm probably going to get a lot of hate. I don't like this reserve parking crap. It come about roughly about 10, 15 years ago, and it has been nothing but a headache ever since. Yeah, I know these truck stops don't make a lot of money off us truck drivers anymore, but come on. We don't make a lot of money either, so why should we have to pay to park everywhere? I mean, I understand having a few spots like they first began with, but whenever they brought up and started the other night, I spent driving 20 minutes around in a circle trying to find a spot, and they were all saying reserved on them. Not to mention they're getting ready to put a gating system in where you have to pay to get in it.
Yeah, that kind of makes things really, really ridiculous, especially when you're talking about Dallas. Was that where you were at?
Yes.
Yeah. Alicia Gallardo, Nashville, Arkansas. God bless you. Welcome to the show. Glad you could join us. Trucking is dead in the comments as well. Fate giving us a comment, watching from Wyoming. God bless you. Thank you for joining us and calling us earlier. Look up the road trucking has on foot on a banana peel, and the other guy is in the grave. Nice. I don't know what it means, but okay. We are here, baby. Family camping, 7C. Enjoy the heck out of that, my friend. That is a nice thing to do. Cheap freight hauler in the house, loads reserved parking. Only if it's not the only thing available. I mean, my friend, I get Grumpy. I get your point. I mean, it's one thing to push Truck Parking Club, and I swear by it. Having an app, low payment, a lot cheaper than reserved. I mean, check them out. I mean, they're probably everything Fate says they are. But if there is the ability to take a free parking spot, I would like to have that option. There's rest areas, there's some grocery store parking lots you can still park at. John, do you know of any other solutions maybe I missed, or things that maybe you've tried that would equal an even better shot at trying to find free parking rather than have to pay for it?
I got a great solution for everybody, but no one's going to do it. But I'll tell you, and it's not my idea. You'll know who it came from when I say it. So when you drive around during the daytime and you just swing in for your 30-minute break, there's plenty of parking, right?
Always, yeah.
Right? During the day, always lots of parking everywhere. The only time there's problems with parking is when everybody decides to look for a spot at night. Maybe half of us should be driving night and half daytime, and none of us will have a problem. Just saying.
Point well received. I mean, everybody has the same schedule and everybody drives the same hours. You're going to have the same problem at the same time every night. What about you, Larry? Do you consistently drive the same schedule, or do you go about life a little differently? I mean, I would consider you kind of that veteran time frame because you've had more than 20 years out, I assume, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, what do you think of John's idea about just driving off peak hours or just different hours where parking's not an issue?
Well, I go from East Coast to West Coast and West Coast back to East.
Different than all you guys.
Well, you've got a 4-hour differential, so I wouldn't exactly call that off peak. We'll get back to you. What about you, Thumper? I mean, you know, you're kind of in a different line of work, but still, you know, what's your thoughts on the whole opening statement on parking?
Well, I think on the whole thing with parking, if people learn how to park, that would free up a lot of spaces. I mean, you sit there. I mean, there's times where I come to a truck stop to put fuel in at night,
I walked right into
and I'll go right around the, you know, do my, you know, go around the store, and you look at all these parking spots, and there's people in there so cockeyed and everything. Like even like where we parked the stage for unloading at the plant for cattle. The Truckers and Truck Stop in Sauk Center, Minnesota is one of the biggest truck stops. It's sitting on like 6 acres, and that's parking. You can get hundreds of trucks in there, and you can't find a freaking parking spot in there because there's people that are parked at an angle or they're taking up 4 spots. It's like, if you don't need that much. Yeah, you don't need that much. If people would learn how to park and stay close to each other, you wouldn't have that issue. There'd be a lot of parking.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, well, case in point is me. Hold on, Grumpy. Case in point is me last night. Hold that thought, Grumpy. Don't go anywhere with it. I just parked at TA here in Stratford, Missouri. And last night, there was a gentleman driving a Prime reefer trailer, wanted to get a spot next to me so bad, he wanted to insist on backing in. And there was very little room to get that fully forward tandem trailer in, right? I get out, I take one look at him. I said, dude, did you not realize that you could just pull through right from the fuel island? Dude, like, oh man, I didn't realize that. How many of you guys aren't really looking? I mean, come on now. Anyway, go ahead, Grumpy. Just saying.
I was going to add to the factor that, like, when I finally was able to find me a parking spot, like Thumper's hitting on there, when one parks crooked, it causes a domino effect. So obviously I can't park straight. So I found me a parking spot, and because both drivers on either side of me didn't park straight, it caused me to have to barely bottleneck in, and I had like 2 foot on one side and 2 foot on the other side of my trailer just whenever I got in there.
Yeah.
Plenty of parking, or plenty of this parking space between me and the trucks up in the front. Great. But trailer back there, you know.
Yeah, exactly. What you got to add to this?
Hey, boss man.
What's John, go ahead.
You know, we're talking about this like it's a country-wide problem. I don't know about everybody else, but for me, it's a East Coast, West Coast thing. If you're on the East Coast or the West Coast, it's a problem. Anywhere in the middle, I never have problems finding parking. So, I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
I was gonna get to that.
Tell me in the comments, guys, when you get a chance. Tell me if you guys find the same thing.
Yeah, I was actually going to break it down because
I pointed that out for a reason, because you said.
Well, I was just going to say, we've had this discussion before, and the last time we opined on an article about this, it was up north. It was on the 95 and 90 corridor. Now they're doing it on the I-10 corridor in the south, and we're seeing a total different conversation happen here. Plus, we're seeing a total different set of results. So, yeah, I would definitely be interested in what John said a minute ago. If you're somewhere else other than the I-10 corridor, whatever area of the country, tell us your experience. If you think it needs help, if it's good, if it's bad, let us know in the comments. We'd certainly be interested to know that. Poet, go ahead. What say you on this?
Well, up here, we don't have a lot of paid parking. There are some truck stops that do have reserved parking. But yeah, even up here, parking is an issue.
Is it? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
mean, considering that there's less vehicles in Canada, I don't suppose their network of parking is as large as ours, but I could still understand how that would be a problem, though.
well, don't forget, we have 1/10 the population of the USA.
Yeah.
Extrapolate that to we have 1/10 of the truckers / owner operators / lease operators up here.
Yep.
But parking, yeah.
Yeah.
You're
Totally get
you're hoping not to get fined, harassed, screwed over by security
or towing companies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. That.
Yeah. Well, let's get back to the whole thing about truck parking apps. Let me read these comments here because I'm getting a little behind on comments. 18-wheeler says my truck's been
Larry
parked the
had
same spot for
something.
2 weeks. I'll get him in a second. I saw him reading. 2 weeks, home time, working on my truck and trailer, headed back out. Rig parking is definitely an issue out here. Yes, sir. If you got a minute, 18-wheeler, let me know where out here is. Well, no, never mind, because he's already told me where he is. It's right down the road from where I'm at. So, yeah, I hear you there, my friend. He goes on to say, got a parking ticket in Pennsylvania, 81 northbound, closed down way station on ramp. Station's out of service, tons of room for parking, and $150 ticket. You know, and there's also another video circulating around YouTube where a fella was in an overweight with permits and had an escort tell him via an available app where he was specially paid to use that he could park at a rest area somewhere in Dallas, somewhere in Texas. I forget where it is. And he was fined $500. And the cop reading him the ticket even said, I don't want to. I don't like to, but my boss says I have to. So 18-wheeler, you're not the first one to deal with that. So it's an epidemic. A financial one. They want the money. Chief Freight Hauler says I back in pull-throughs just for practice. There you go. That's it. Doesn't hurt to get a little bit of practice. Nice to know, though. This guy I was looking at last night, he definitely did not need practice. He needed to get the heck away from me because I still have an intact from Bumper. Thank you. Pamela Parrish, new to the channel. God bless you. Welcome in. I drive through the night, so no problem finding parking. Also, it'd help if they'd open the way stations to parking and let us drivers know they won't be hassled on their brakes. Yeah, some do, some don't. So definitely have to do your research because, as I just mentioned, even though somebody with overweight escorts and permits got ticketed in Texas. So you really have to do your research to figure that out. 18-wheeler says I'm in Springfield, run the East Coast most of the time. And it definitely has East does have a parking issue compared to the Midwest. Amen to that. I agree fully. Larry, you want to finish your comment from earlier? I take it you had something to add?
First of all, let me apologize for that.
Oh, that's fine.
I wanted to say this, and a lot of people, I haven't heard anyone say this. How about we get back to actually doing pre-trips and looking where you're going to stop at for the night to find out if there will be parking there?
Good idea. Good idea. I think pre-tripping and pre-planning saves tremendously. You know, just me coming in here.
You mean trip planning?
I mean, I knew I was coming in.
Yeah, trip planning. That's part of the job here.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you know when you're going to shut down at night, you know what truck stops are in that area and if they're going to be full or not.
Very true. Very true. Good advice indeed. Anybody else on the panel got any other
There's
further
an app.
advice?
Well, I kind
There's
of
an
agree with
app
Larry
out
on
there
that.
I know.
Plan your load.
There you go. Yeah. Go ahead, Thumper.
There's an app out there that kind of gives you a trend on what each truck stop's going to be like every night, and it's called Trucker Path. It's 100% free.
That's right. Yeah.
That's what I use that's what I use to see if there's going to be any available parking or any other kind of parking wherever I'm going to end up at. If I can't stay at the feed yard that I'm unloading at or the stock yard or whatever, I pull that up. Oh yeah, there's one 20 miles down the road, and it gives you real time, and it's up like the parking spots and everything are all updated by truckers.
Yeah.
There you go.
Don't trust the scales on it though.
Don't trust a lot of things on it though, because it led me off out in no man's land for a truck stop that never existed there because some trucker thought it'd be funny to say there was a truck stop there in Missouri.
Oh, bad news. Bad news.
Yeah, so I steer clear away from them. I steer away from them.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But as I was saying, I do partly agree with Larry on that. The trip planning issue, if you know how to trip plan, it helps. But there again, you're going to pull up to some of these truck stops, and they're not always going to be a chance you're going to get a parking spot. Like I had last night. I had all these truck stops around me, but I couldn't find a spot at any of them because either you pay for it, which I was not going to do because I'm not a rich man anyhow, or you just keep looking. Well, finally I was lucky, and I got lucky and found a 1.9, and it had a spot or two in it, and I got in there and stayed.
There you go. Yeah. Makes good sense. Pamela Parrish says, I have all my spots marked on Trucker Path. Smart move. Saves you from having to look them up. Cheap Freight Hauler says, have any of you on the screen ever parked in a reserve spot without paying? You know, I mean, the real answer to that problem isn't have we ever, it's how many times have we done it. But you want to go ahead and give that answer, John?
Oh, I mean, I'll be honest. If I pull in a truck stop at 4 a.m. and there's a reserve spot open and nothing else open, I'll park in it and I'm not paying for it because it's throughout the day. In an hour, that parking lot's going to be empty anyway. So yeah, I've done that, but not in midday or normal parking hours at night when everybody else is parking. No, I haven't done 10, but like 3, 4, 5 in the morning, I have.
Yeah. Last thing I want to touch on in this whole parking discussion is. Yeah, last thing I'm going to touch on in this whole parking discussion is some of the hidden costs. I mean, we typically talk with, and we talked on this live show before about, the fact that we make less money because we have to spend more time looking. Okay, but what about the other side of the argument? Thumper, you're always one to talk about stress and the mental toll that things take on drivers. Imagine how much more. Well, let me flip the script. How much less stress there'd be if this was one of those issues we really didn't have to worry about.
Well, I mean, it would take that. I mean, it's not it's not the whole solution. I mean, it helps, but you're still gonna have that stress. Like honestly, when I go to park, whether if I'm running hopper bottom, which I run during the day and at night, it's just kind of how it works.
Right.
When I'm looking for a parking spot at night, that like I do try to plan out my trips, like Larry was saying, and be like, hey, I'm gonna park here or whatever. But parking's like the last thing on my mind throughout the whole day. But then you run your clock. Well, that's ag exempt, so I run 150 more miles than everybody else. So I run that and then my clock. So at the end of the day, I'm so freaking tired. I don't even think about parking. I just sit there and be like, oh, well, this place is full. I go to the next one and be like, oh, this is full. Finally, I just get frustrated and go park on an off ramp.
Yeah, which a lot of people I find do, and I don't know. I mean, I've never done it myself because usually I work for companies that frown on it, so I make a practice to stay away from ramps anyway. Me personally, I agree with I agree with Chief Ray Haller because he says 4 a.m. is different than 6 p.m. I agree with him only in the sense that, well, you know what? I work a really weird dynamic of hours. Anybody on the panel will tell you they know when I wake, they know when I go to sleep. I purposely work late, mainly because I get my best work done at night. You know, my best work is driving this truck, getting somewhere, off peak hours, parking, no stress, no BS, and working on the content. So the less stress I have involved in getting this job done, the more easier it is to get this job done. So I work it the way I work it for my purpose. And I think if more people, not you have to be a content creator or a guy on YouTube or whatever, but if more people took that approach, I think that by itself could almost solve the parking problem. Does anybody disagree with that?
Not really. I mean, I agree. Maybe but you can't really do shifts though because, everybody's schedule is different.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. What are you going to say, John?
Can I add this? I was just going to say, I want to add to something that Grumpy said earlier, not add to it, kind of subtract from it, actually. I hear a lot of truckers complaining because they can't find a free spot, because they don't want paper spots. We're not entitled to have spots. It's a courtesy when they give us free spots. They don't have to. It's their business. They can run it any way they want. I know that's not a popular opinion, but it's the truth. They don't owe us a spot. So if you're out there driving around saying you're paper spot, that's.
I was going to say, you're actually doing Midlife's job for him, because if he were here, he would definitely, without fail, remind us these truck stops run a business, and that business is for profit. And if they want to charge for parking, they're entitled to do so, and we've got no choice but to honor that or go somewhere else. That's exactly what Midlife would say, without fail. Now, I kind of take his position on that. Without us buying things, which we don't do enough of, how else are they going to make their money? Without them being here, we're back to the problem we're talking about, which is not enough parking. So it either goes to you pay for parking or you buy more stuff, one way or the other. What, Grumpy?
I'm going to add to that.
What?
Because I'm going to raise him on this one. All right. Now, way before when you were still in trucky diapers, us drivers like me and Larry up there and Poet, we didn't have to pay for this blooming parking. There was no such thing. We can blame this on Flying J and Pilot. They began it. No. They started it. Okay. Baloney.
No, I tell you what you blame it on. Don't blame it on
Wait a minute.
You blame it on inflation. Because back in those days, my friend.
Bull.
No, back in those days, my friend, truck stops were making money.
Wait.
Go ahead, John. Go ahead.
Let me say something seriously. Okay, the time that you're talking about is a time period where truckers didn't have refrigerators and microwaves. I know there still are truckers out there that live in the cave ages that don't have those things in their truck. Most of us do. So the stores aren't making the money they used to make. So that's why they charge for parking. I'm going to be Midlife right now. I can't help it because you're forcing me to be that way. But honestly, if they're not making money on you in the store, which they're not because you're eating in your truck, unless you're like this guy down there, then guess what? They're going to charge you for parking because they got to make money. They're in it to make money. They're not in it to cater to our needs because we're a glorified trucker. No, that's not how this works.
Yeah, well, I'll say this. They've got us by the acorns because they know that we have to have parking. So that's why they're going to do this to us. And it's not right. A few spots is fine, but not the whole blooming parking lot. I couldn't even find a handicap spot.
Frontlines is the only show that has the debate before the debate even starts. News at 11.
Hey, folks, it's probably going to take us until 11 o'clock before these two stop arguing. Anyway, done. I digress.
We are.
Ask everybody else. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? Do we deserve free parking?
No, we don't.
Yes,
We don't.
we do.
Why? All right, Poet. Why do we deserve free parking?
Okay. So, according to John, I am a dinosaur.
Okay,
Yep.
amongst many things I've heard said, but dinosaur, I'll give you one.
It's
Prove your
all,
point.
if I put 6, 7, 800 gallons of fuel in my truck, why should I not be afforded to have a place to sleep without paying extra?
If you have a truck that can take 600 gallons worth of diesel fuel, I want to meet you. I want to see the truck and I want to buy it. I mean, I get your point.
I got one.
Throughout the month, to your point, Poet, throughout the month, you're probably purchasing anywhere from 1,300 conservatively up to 1,800 gallons worth of diesel fuel in a month. So your argument says, yeah.
No. When you're
That's about what I average.
When you're
hang on a second.
When you're off-roading, okay? I
was trying to make a point for him, but okay.
When you're off-roading in the bush, you want to keep you stop at the last place you can fuel and top it right up. And 700 gallons is not uncommon because you're running the bush.
I see what you're saying. Okay, I see what you're saying. Up there, it's different. You got to carry more fuel. I get that. Okay, go ahead, John.
Okay, so let's put that in a business sense. I'm going to make it 100 gallons because it's easy math, but you can 6 if you would like. But if you buy 100 gallons and that fuel station is only making 20 cents per gallon, guess what? They made $20 on that deal.
Mm-hmm.
Now you deserve parking. They get no profit because now you're taking a parking spot for $20.
Yep.
You know that
they're running a business here.
It costs you almost $20 to get that parking spot anyhow. So there's another $40.
Yep, exactly.
How much do they want to make off of us? And then if we go in and we get food of any kind, a snack or something, just because we don't have something in our fridge, they've made some more off of us.
How much?
How much what?
How much do they really want to make off of us? Think about what you're saying. You have electric bills, water bills, you have employees, you have overhead, you have land costs. Are you
They've already
How much do they want to make off of us?
Through the years, they've already tried this other way of making money off us drivers, and it failed. They tried the things in the ground that had a telephone you could hook to it and electricity. That didn't work. They had the what is that? The airflow deals.
Those were investments.
And that failed.
Those were investments.
So now they're trying to do. They know. Yeah.
I got one more point. I got one more point to prove to you. You're talking about all this stuff, right? Hang on. I'm gonna highlight a comment. I'm sorry, boss man. Hang on 1 second here.
Right. Go ahead.
If I can get there, you go. Some knucklehead threw out 10 cases of beef. How many truck stops you go to where it's just a trash hole behind the trucks? They have to go out and clean that up. They got to hire someone for that. That's a free service. You don't pay for that. That's more overhead for them.
Yep. See, in a lot of ways, John's right because we
entitled to a parking spot.
Well, no, we cause overhead because I mean this parking lot I'm parked in right now is I look around me, there's no trash, okay, but the amount of stains that are on the parking lot just from oil, tranny fluid, people peeing, God knows what else, the stains are from, but they're all over the place. There's overhead to clean that stuff up.
Basically, the point you're making here is Trucking is slowly going down the toilet.
Wrong video, Grumpy. Point I'm making is you expect free parking, and yet the truck stops are expected to lose money. What sense is there in that argument? You know, I mean, I get what you're saying, but you know, if it's just like me and who was I talking to? Oh, surprisingly enough, I was talking to you. Remember this morning when we were talking about the numbers behind your boss?
Mm-hmm.
When I told you that if you're only generating hypothetically 10,000 and you're paying 10,000, you know, including payroll, something's got to give, you know? I mean, same example. Same thing with a truck stop. If you're not making money, in fact, losing money, eventually it won't be there. Go ahead, Larry.
I was just going to say that same point. If they weren't making money off of us drivers or other people for that matter, there'd be a lot more truck stops closing. They wouldn't be able to stay open.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you this right now. If they're going to do that to us truck drivers,
Well, they do make more money.
I want them to start charging the RVers. That's all there is to it. That's how I look at it. If we have to be charged for a spot, charge the RVers.
Now that I can agree with.
Now, they do make money coming in the front door. You know that.
Last year, Love's started doing RV parks. So they are making money off the RVs.
That's fine, and it helps keep them out of our area. That's wonderful. Good idea. But then these other truck stops, they get stuck in our areas.
But then again, there's no more truck stops. They're all called travel centers now. So technically, the truck stops are dead and gone like everybody else.
I hate to get all
Wait,
philosophical
I'm not dead
on
and gone
everybody.
yet.
I hate to get all philosophical on anybody, but what's in a name? Really? I mean, that sounds kind of Shakespearean. Anyway, who cares? Was travel center, truck stop? Well, who cares? You still got to find a place to park at the end of the day. Right? Yeah, right? Whatever. You still got to find a place to park. I want to go through the comments and get on the debate. God, you think this is spicy. It's about to get real, folks. 18 Willard says, I always pay. I'm in a reserve spot as a respect and a courtesy. Hold on a minute, poet. Don't jump my my show here. But mostly can't stand people knocking on my doors when I'm not expecting it. It raises the blood pressure. I fully agree with that. Sassafras says, disagree. Think you guys should have free parking spots because that much money as you guys spend on fuel and in stores. Thank you. Feel your pain. But yeah, I wish it was that simple. Really, I do. How about parking was free when truckers respected the place? I think that's the part we talked a minute ago about. Now they're full of stuff I'm not going to read on YouTube. Just a few weeks ago, stopped for a shower. As soon as I stepped out of the truck, the smell of rotten meat nearly knocked me out. And then your point earlier that I think you made, you pointed out. He goes on to say, easiest way to make paid parking go away is to leave the spots empty. Well, I don't think fate would agree with that. I mean, hey, look, at the end of the day, the whole concept of the discussion was originally raised because I don't feel personally like the money being invested is going in the right spots. Yeah, info systems like signs and the apps being available, all of that is great when the systems decide to work right and when the systems actually do what they're intended to do. But the problem we're running into today is that these apps go only so far as A, the people programming them, B, the people using them, and last but not least, the strength behind the infrastructure supporting them. We found out with Hurricane Helene and all of the other stuff going on, lo and behold, when the power fails, the crap gets deep, guess what happens? The first thing to go is the tech. If you think the tech is worth arguing about, let's get into a real debate. Let me tell you guys, the great trucking nation, we've got us a hot one here. So, There's new laws coming up across the land. We need to talk about. It may teach us a thing or two, either by observing what they do or seeing what it does to us. Follow along. I'm not just talking schmack here. The alarm bells should be going off in your cab right now, because what's going on over there could very well be a preview of what's going on right here. See, Japan just slapped on a nice new cap on hours, okay? They're limiting all of their drivers in the hours that they can work, both in terms of weeks and in terms of months, over time frames. They're capping their overtime and they're capping their ability to basically get fatigued. And that is where that starts. Excuse me, that's where that ends and this discussion starts. If they limit the hours to protect the poor, tired drivers from burnout, that's what they'll have you believe. But here's the dirty little secret. Less time on the road means less time making money. Does that ring a bell? It should, because it's exactly where we're headed if the bureaucrats and the red legislators get their way with our hours of service right here in the U.S. Now, I bring all this up because all of these recent articles, we've talked about different things that they want to do, the FMCSA. And let me tell you, some of it may happen. Some of it, as Midlife's pointed out in a couple of these past shows, is nothing but blowhard, feel-good stuff, okay? But all it takes is one, okay? Let me ask you this. Who out here drives for the love of regulations? Who wakes up and says, oh, boy, I hope the government steps in and tells me when I'm too tired to work? I don't think any of you do. No. You know your body, you know your limits, and you've got the freight to deliver, and you've got a passion to make a living in an industry you enjoy. So you should be allowed to get that done. Now, this Japanese article and this nonsense going on over there is exactly the kind of thing that we've been warning people about. And here's the truth. More bureaucrats over here, the more they regulate, the thinner our margin is going to get. Less time on the road, less take-home pay, just that simple. Now, there's nothing to be missed about the argument of fatigue and mental stress. We'll get to some of that. I'd like to know your opinions. Comment, let me tell you. But don't even get me started on the small guys, okay? Because mostly what's going on over in Japan is affecting some of the larger companies, and they're even hating it too, okay? Japan's got 63,000 trucking companies. Most of them are small-time operators, just like the hardworking guys we got over here. And guess what? They're being squeezed. They're turning down jobs. They're raising the prices, and they're making things difficult. It's the same cycle that's starting to choke the life out of our independent contractors here. More rules, more costs, fewer opportunities. Yeah, that's how you push the small guys out. Sound familiar? So here's the deal. The question I'm going to ask is, can we learn something from this new disaster in the making? What's going on over there? Yeah, can we learn anything from it? And if so, what can we do with that information? And we got to fight against government interference, okay? Midlife's always on the show talking about I want more regulations. For the love of God, no, I don't. I want less, especially when it comes to our hours of service, okay? Less government, more money, more opportunity, okay? You choke out creativity, innovation stops. So let's start pushing back. Let's start looking at the facts for what they are before we end up like Japan, crippled by regulations. So let's have it, guys. Let's have an honest debate. Let's talk about what's really important here. And tell me what you think. Tell me in your own words if you think what Japan's doing is necessary, is right. Tell me if you think it's wrong. I want to hear what your take is. Let me know. Let's start this discussion. John, what do you think? If you were told you couldn't work but so many hours because of some new rule you never heard of, what would you think?
Don't we already have that?
Well, we know about everything. I mean, I mean, I don't know if you're able to do math.
I'm
on the
already told
fly,
I can only work so many, some dumb rule that says I can only drive 11 hours a day, even though some days I feel like driving 15.
Well, prior to this new rule, here's the thought for you. Prior to this new rule that Japan had, guys would virtually work through the night and they'd work their butts off. Now, that's not saying it's safe. It's not saying anything good about it. But now they made this new rule and they've capped overtime, which overtime used to be just free willing. They could do whatever they wanted. Okay. But the premise of the argument and the new rule that they put into place was that they capped the time you could work no more than, I think it's 80-hour weeks, which is about what we do here, 960 hours in a month. And there's certain conditions by which you have to meet in order to get those hours. So they've capped that overtime. You used to be able to make unlimited potential income. Now you can only do just so much. That's what I'm talking about. Right now, we've got regulations that say we can only do so many hours. Yes, that's true. But they've considered tightening them up even more and removing some restrictions. They've talked about before removing the split clock because they didn't think it was safe. They've talked before about changing the 34-hour reset policies. They never did. But, they're hard and fast with making these suggestions. It could happen here just as quickly as it happened over there. That's my point.
Well, the reason is because they don't talk to a trucker. I mean, it's easy to sit behind your desk and say, that doesn't feel safe. But talk to a trucker and find out what a trucker actually feels after driving, 8 hours or 10 hours or 12 hours or 15 hours. Because what I'm capable of doing may be different than what you're capable of doing, and what you're different. We're all different. So you can't have one regulation for every single person. I guarantee a poet could probably drive for 20 hours and not have any safety issues because he's been doing it so long, his body's trained to do it.
My God, guys, I just spotted something.
That's why I'm saying
I just spotted something. I have to highlight this. I truly have to highlight this. We are so famous in the trucking circuit. We have attracted the attention of Trump. Thank you, truckers. God bless you, imposter. Get off my screen. I mean, I think it's I think it's funny though, because everybody's real quick to, as you point out, John, sit behind a desk, and I think I know where part of this comes from. Tell me if I'm wrong. They're sitting behind a desk thinking about ways in which A, to make money, or B, litigate a case, or C, make a name for themselves. Those are one of the usually three principles. And they usually always start, stop, and end with an attorney. And I say this because I'm putting out a video talking about an attorney coming up in the near future. Look for it on this channel. That's all I'm saying on that. But attorneys basically are the stop and start of almost every regulation we have here. And you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. They do it to us all the time. And as you point out, they sit behind a desk. They don't do the job. All they do is litigate cases against us and our job. So,
wait. So they have liars in other countries too, besides here in the United States.
Believe it or not, Japan has liars. Yeah, they do. To use your term, liars. Yeah, cute. You're funny. Oh, even your bird.
Wait, are you referring? I think you used the wrong word. It's the same meaning, but don't you mean politician?
Possibly.
Lawyers. Oh, yeah. I think you got a point there. Yeah.
They're in conjunction with each other.
Hashtag just saying.
Yes.
Larry, what's your thought?
My thought is, why don't we go back to the old days? 5 on, 5 off. That worked.
Well, I kind of was going to mention that, but there's only like 3 people in this panel that would actually know what that was.
You work for
you
5
grumpy
hours.
Yeah.
You know what, Larry? Why don't you tell us what 5 on, 5 off means?
You work 5 hours, you're off 5 hours.
You grumpy and poet, all 3 of you collectively would probably equal 150 years. I got to update that.
That would not work for me.
No, I mean, because most
would not work for me.
On reefer, you can do that. You can't do that.
It was actually
Well, no,
5,
but
4, 5.
after running 5 hours,
and
I'm not
4.
tired enough to sleep. So I would need to
Well, that
run a little
makes
bit
more
longer
time
so I
to
get
do
tired.
That gives you
You
more
ran-
time to do
The earliest I ever
Heck,
remember
half the time
running,
I don't even
was
want to stop
eight on.
after 8 hours to get a half-hour break.
Yeah, I was going to say
Well,
the earliest
which-
I remember running is 8 on and 10
That-
off.
that 30-minute break is one of the stupidest things ever. Because who
I
don't
agree.
stop?
Well, at least
who
now
don't
you can get
stop within
at least.
a 10-hour day. Who don't stop at least once or twice to go to the bathroom? And how many times will
Oh,
it
I
take
agree.
you to do it in 30 minutes?
Yeah, right.
Well,
If it takes
at
you
least
30
now
minutes
you
to
can
brush
get
your
fuel
teeth,
and
you
go to
don't
the
know.
bathroom, and that's your break.
No offense to
Yeah.
midlife, but I feel like he's the one that came up with that idea.
He probably did
Because
too, and he's not here. So we can afford
Yes,
to pick on him.
yes, Dana came up with that idea.
He's always got a spreadsheet of everything he has to do in that day. So, therefore, take away that 30-minute break because it's almost it's ridiculous. If I'm in the middle of going from California all the way out to New Jersey like I normally do, I don't want to have to sit there after 8 hours. Oh, I got to stop, and then you only got 3 hours left.
Yeah, I mean, you're not picking up anything.
Or
Stop
you're
earlier.
Gonna get 100.
Do
You're
5
going
and
to
then
get
6.
150 miles down the road.
Yeah.
You're only going to get 150 miles or so down the road, and then that truck stop's probably going to be full.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, if you're running conventional hours, like we just talked about, were you not listening, dude? I mean, come on. You're part of the show, dude. Come on. Okay. Well, don't
I
drive that
kind
hours.
of see where he's hitting at on
You're
there.
busting on. Go ahead, Frank.
The factor of it is, back whenever we used to run 5 and 4 and 5, that worked a lot better because we drove for 5 hours, we took 4 hours sleeper berth minimum, then you drove for another 5 because it was 10 hours maximum drive time, and then you took another 4 hours afterwards, and that completed your break. But that was kind of like a split. But at the same time, it wasn't always accurate either because most of your drivers cheated their logs anyhow. Just saying.
Uh-huh.
18 Wheeler says DOT and FMC.
You know-
yeah, those people can't even police the hours of service regulations they have now. Let them regulate what they want. They don't enforce what they have, so I ain't worried. Good point. I mean, but it doesn't say it won't get worse. I mean,
Go
nothing's
into
stopping
a
them from
weigh
doing it.
station and tell that DOT officer that your logbook is wrong. See how long he makes you sit there.
I'd be careful, Larry. That guy that just left that comment, he's probably got more experience than you. Come find you, kick your butt. He says he left my ELD from Lithuania and got my fresh 70 with a simple phone call.
Maybe.
Or put a blow-up doll in the passenger seat. Yeah, at least he's got a sense of humor. I'll give him that.
So he's the one that works for John Krishner. Oh.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. Bull of the Woods, welcome
Here
to
you
the
go.
show. Glad you could make it. Cheap Freight says, give a trucker an inch, they'll take a mile. Dude, you really have to burst my bubble. Just saying. Drive 5-6 hours, take 2-3 hours off, then run for 5 or 6. What company do you work for? Send me their link, please. I want to know. That sounds like a sweet deal. I meant to say I'll get. I know.
You could do that with any company.
Not necessarily. Yeah, I don't think you'd want to admit that though.
No, you can. You go and do that the same thing that guy just said, and watch how fast your company's calling you. Why ain't your truck moving?
Mm-hmm. Very
Good
true.
point.
And a lot of them
Maybe you
do
shouldn't.
that too. They do.
You know, if you're a company driver, you have to work the way they want you to work. But if you're an owner operator, they don't have a right to call you and ask you why you're not moving because it's your business. You decide when you drive. You're the captain of your ship.
The difference with me and you is I'm a lease, you're an owner. So that's the difference. I'm still technically a glorified company driver. So yeah, if I was to do that 5 on,
Yes, but wait. No, you
Guys-
still have to pay all the same things I have to pay. You still have a
Guys-
business, so you have a right to decide what you want to do to make money for your business.
Guys, my iPad is about to shut down I gotta go.
God bless you, Poet. Thank you for joining the show.
You
Closing
bet.
thoughts, or you want to just go?
No, I'll just go and I will look at the end of the show tomorrow on the replay.
God bless you. All right. Thank you for
Hey,
joining
Poet.
us, buddy. We'll look forward
Poet.
to next time.
Poet, I got one thing to say to you. Have a nice day, Poet. Have a nice day.
Yeah, but that's metric.
Gotta love you guys. I love you guys.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was it this hand? Did I get the wrong hand? I don't know.
And remember, Canada is always dry.
Give you Austin Powers.
Later,
I
guys.
brushed my teeth today.
Later, Poet. All right, couple of pros and cons. Think about this.
See you,
here.
Poet.
Consolidation in the industry. Is regulations accelerating it? Okay, there's a pro side and there's a con side. All right, consolidation. Can think about this. With all this talk about the regulations, it could be inevitable. And could regulations help stabilize the industry? If you're midlife, you're talking about regulations like they're, the worst thing since sliced bread. Every time I read a news story, you want more regulations. Or are they like just paving the way for big players to swallow up guys like you and me? So which is it? Do you think regulations by themselves need to be relaxed or gotten rid of? Or do you think we need more? And if so, what do you think's the real impact?
Some need to be re-looked at.
Obviously. I mean, kind of the point that I'm
Reevaluated.
trying to make on this entire story is we got too many regulations already. I mean, midlife will probably like, where's my damn recorder? And he's probably wanting to record this moment, but I've said all along we got too many and there's too much BS, trying to pass more. The amount of regulations they're talking about in 2025 will throw you for a loop. I may have an accent.
Well,
I have a solution for you.
What's that?
I have a solution. Two solutions, actually. The first solution is, in reality, being serious. The beginning of November is coming up. You can change that by going out and doing your civil responsibility. Second solution is the second. The second solution is. Okay, balloons keep going up every time I do that. Sorry. It's distracting me. I'm like a little kid. The second solution is the second solution is I'm running for the president of the Trucking of the United States. So vote for John and I'll fix all of those problems.
Vote for Grumpy.
We haven't counted the votes yet. Don't.
I got a solution.
You don't want to vote for Grumpy, vote for John.
What's your solution, Thumper?
If they're gonna,
The crap's getting too thick. I gotta hear something go here.
Right. Well, I mean, if they're gonna regulate us on everything, well, then they need to regulate their pay and they need to regulate their hours, so they can't work overtime or anything like that.
I think Trump had a good idea when he first came into office. He had a good idea, and I'm gonna mention his idea, and I'm gonna raise the stakes slightly. Okay, when Trump first came into office, he first said for every regulation that they pass, they've got to eliminate 2. All right, I'm gonna enter that in as a possibility. I'm gonna raise the stakes. I'm gonna say that per year, each representative can only sponsor 1 time. Okay? Currently, every senator can sponsor a piece of legislation as many times as they want. Now, if we put rules into place that only allow them to selectively, because they can only use it once, sponsor certain legislation, how much you want to bet less laws get passed? What do you think there?
What do you think? What do you want? You want to know Grumpy's opinion?
Doing the same thing. It's like doing the same thing to them that they're doing to us. Frankly,
I don't.
What's your opinion?
They're politicians. They'll just freaking break the rules anyways, so it don't matter.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Well,
we do.
They do what's
Why
best
not?
for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
What's going to
right.
make them? What's going to line their pocketbooks? And I mean, they don't consult with us drivers out here. None of them ask us how we feel. They just say, "Oh, new law. Here you go." Bing. and we have to follow it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Okay. Got comments over there. Pamela says, the only time my truck stop is to fuel or shut down. If I run like 550 a day, I get mad. Only way that happens if the truck keeps moving. My best was 800 miles. Good for you. Keep cranking them wheels around, make that money. What company do I work for myself?
She is a company driver.
Yep. Right, Chief Ray Hall, I was just messing with you, buddy. I wasn't really trying to be anything. Voted early, done it right the way. Left hand over my eyes, just touched the screen, random spots. There you go. Sometimes that does account for the real winning possibilities. Anyway.
Okay,
yeah.
I feel like Thumper is trying to be a salesman in a commercial with his camera.
Yeah.
Low prices. I'm crazy.
Crazy Eddie. Oh God, Grumpy, you're taking me way back. That crazy Eddie image just came into my head. Bye,
For
Grumpy.
the next 20 minutes.
Wait, how is he zooming in and out like that? That's awesome.
He's got
my
an iPad
iPad.
with the auto frame. They're auto framing. That's all it is.
So like
Well,
if
Thumper,
I
I
move
got
over
you.
here,
I got you
Oh,
in the
I'll do
hot
it now.
seat. I got you in the hot seat, probably for good reason, because this topic I'm going to bring up is kind of something you're akin to really paying attention to. The real impact on drivers' health, with hours being what they are currently here, and things being done in Japan the way they are, contributing to the high rates of heart disease and strokes. I mean, drivers' health is a serious issue. Okay, so in terms of policies, not rules and regulations, so we have more protections in place to ensure that truckers can stay healthy while still at the same time not hurting their ability to make money? Or are these regulations just part of the nonsense that we usually get and something we should just, I don't know what the word is, gloss over, ignore? What do you think?
well, I mean, it's
Driver
going to
health
get
is
ignored.
important. Yeah,
It
driver
is.
health.
It's very important. Your health
Yeah.
and your mental health is very important. I mean, I've been up and down that many times. So let me put it in a aspect that maybe you would kind of understand, or other people out there. Do you want somebody telling you what to do to your body? Do you want
Yeah.
somebody telling? I mean, we already have rules and regulations, and we're trying to find ways around them to better fit our schedule. Now, as far
True
as
that.
the mental health and your physical health, that's all up to you. I'm
Yep.
not gonna.
Nope.
Whoops, we lost him. That'll
Oh,
give you an
I
opportunity.
think we
Oh,
lost
wait a
him.
minute. No, he's there. He's there.
Well,
Continue. Continue. Let him finish, and I'll let you come in, John. Keep going.
I lost my train of thought now. But no, I mean, you
Okay,
shouldn't-
you were basically saying they're grown people. They make their own decisions.
yeah, you're an adult. You're your own. You're an adult. You make your own decisions. I will give you advice on what I see, how I see it through my eyes, and it's up to you if you're going to take it or not. I don't think there should be rules or regulations on that because nobody's going to listen to them.
True that. True that. Yep. All right, what were you going to say, John?
I was actually pretty much going to say what he said. I heard a video recently. You know, it's a slippery slope, the whole slippery slope thing. You know what, guys? When the government starts telling us when we can walk, when we can eat, when we can, that's an overregulation farther than what we already have. So please, let's stop talking about this because I don't want that.
Good point.
No,
I have to jump through enough hurdles. I don't want to jump through anymore.
In midlife's world, I have an app for that.
Hey, there you go, right? The only reason I
Yeah, but
bring
it's your
these
choice
things
to
up-
listen to the app.
Yeah, the only reason I bring these things up is because they're a good story. They're highly talked about, and they're very controversial. But at the very core of each one of these stories lies an issue that if we don't wake up and pay attention to it, the regulations, the laws, and the rules will overtake us. And at the very worst end of all of this, we think inflation's bad now. You ain't seen nothing yet. I mean, that's just the whole crux of everything.
Boss man, my friend.
Let the other countries screw up and let's try to learn from their mistakes. That's the best advice I
The
can
very
give you.
point I'm trying to make. Thank you, Thumper. That's exactly what I was trying to start with and didn't really word it correctly. But because I mean, my last point that I wanted to make, and it sounded like you want to go, Frank. That's totally up to you, my friend.
Well, I mean, he kind of hit it a little bit on the nail there. But what I was going to say is, you know, we've already tried all this other stuff here in the United States to contest all these new rules and regulations. They keep pumping out like it's spring water, and no one gets with the program. And the ones that do look stupid out here, you know?
Because at the end of the day, okay, with all the stuff we're talking about, I mean, as good and as bad as you think it is, I mean, because there's people on both sides of the fence, honestly. Somebody winds up paying the cost. So my question to you is, who should that be? I mean, because if you're on the side of you favor more regulations and you want to make things tight as crap, okay, you're of the opinion that consumers and companies should bear the cost, through the companies charging consumers, and everybody's better for it. But if you don't want the regulations, you want to lower costs, and the only way to do that is to lift them, of course. But it all comes down to one major thing. The end consumer, the persons like you and me that have to buy that pair of pants. We got to buy that bag of groceries. We've got to get that gallon of fuel. Everything we put our hands on winds up costing more, considerably more every single time a new regulation is put into place. So,
you know,
when you go to the ballot box, think about that. I don't want more money being charged. I want less money. So what does that equate to? Less regulations, less restrictions. Closing thoughts. Larry, I'm going to let you have at it because we're about to wrap up. What do you think? You agree?
No more regulations. We're overregulated as it is.
I hear that. Exactly. What say you, Thumper?
No, we don't need any more regulations. It's like they're trying to turn us into the military, where they're going to tell us when to eat, when to sleep, when to use the bathroom.
Yeah, we don't need. Yeah, we don't need that.
And we don't need it. I've been through that once before.
No.
I don't need it again.
This is very true. It's very true. What about you, John? What do you think?
Well, you know what, guys? We're sitting here talking about regulations, things we have no control over. We're talking about all these things that we don't have control over, whether there's going to be a parking spot in the next place we're going to or not. How about we just worry about what we can control and, pray to God Almighty for all the rest, because we can't control any of it anyway. Honestly, they're going to do what they want to do that benefits them and not us. So
this is very true. Very, 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 very true. Grumpy, what do you think, my friend?
You know, just like my slogan down there, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If you're trying to fix it, audit it, look it over, and think twice.
Yep. There you go.
Pitbull out.
Pitbull out. That's funny. I'll tell you what, guys, at the end of the day, it's just you and me and the deep blue. If I could rhyme that, I would. Thumper, sing us to a close, my friend.
Always. It's a pleasure doing them. You guys matter. Everybody matters. Your mental health matters. Do what you do best. Live every day like it's your last, but don't do anything stupid. And also, God bless everybody who's over in the affected areas, the hurricanes, the wildfires. God bless the police, EMTs, firefighters. We don't do it just for us and our families. We do it for you guys.
Amen to that. Good so much, son. Every day is different out here. Let's find the right one there. There we go. I'm going to get this thing figured out one way or the other. Check us out Wednesdays, Saturdays, 7 o'clock. We're here every week telling you guys it's time now to look ahead, protect yourselves, get rid of regulations, and look ahead for ways to make trucking great again. Guys, for next week, we're reminding you that we can make trucking great again. And don't forget, it's the truck that makes the delivery, but it's you that makes the difference. Till things change, guys, keep it real. Keep it right.
Keep it